going to begin this morning talking about the powers, these 12 powers that we celebrate every month, and the impact that they have on us in our experience of humankind. So Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, was inspired to recognize that as he interpreted the Gospels, and he was metaphysically looking at these disciples and the calling forth of the disciples, he began to understand that the calling forth of the disciples was the calling forth of powers within himself, and that the calling forth of those powers within himself allowed him to step into that Christ consciousness. We all have within us these 12 powers. And we use these 12 powers all of the time. But sometimes we're using them from a subconscious level or an unconscious level, rather than making a conscious choice and using them from a place of conscious choice. So when Jesus, activated these powers within him and took on that Christ consciousness, he made a difference. He made a difference not just for the people in his little realm, but he made a difference for trillions and trillions, probably beyond that, of people over the course of the last 2,000 years. And so we follow and we look at the teachings that Jesus gave, and we look at him as a way shower. So when we look at something from a metaphysical standpoint, we're looking at it from the standpoint of looking beyond the physical. So we're raising our consciousness up. We're raising our consciousness to a higher level of consciousness, so that as we do that, we can open up and we can see things in a new way, a way that maybe we have never seen them before. So we open ourselves up to these 12 powers. So each disciple represents a power, and each power has a nerve center in our body that it's assigned to. And the nerve centers are what they call ganglia. It's where a bunch of nerves come together. And so when that is awakened, then physically there's a reaction that happens in our body. So it's not just this idea of something magical happens. It's like it happens within us physically, along with shifting our consciousness. So it happens on all levels of being. So each power has a place in the body, and each power is represented by a color. And the color holds a certain vibration also. So if you're looking at wanting to awaken a certain power within your experience, then put that color around you or wear that color. And the vibration of that color helps to activate that power. Along with it reminds us, just by seeing the color, it reminds us consciously of activating that power. So having said all that, today I'm going to talk about the power of will. The power of will. The power of will is the power to choose, to commit, to declare and decide. This power is represented by the disciple Matthew. It is located in the forehead, right next to the power of understanding. And it is represented by the color silver. So we have our silver candle lit today. And it works closely with the powers of wisdom, understanding, and love. And I'm going to say that with the power of will, none of the other powers can work without the power of will, because we have to make a choice. And the power of will is the power to make a choice. And we have to activate a power by making a choice to use that power. So the power of will is this power within us that we can consciously choose. We can make a decision. So if we're looking at making a decision in our life, we have something coming up and we're trying to make a decision about what to do or how to be with something. It is the power of will that we activate, because it is the power of will that will make that choice, that will help us to make that choice. Paramahansa Yogananda says, we are engaged in an eternal quest for that something else. We hope will bring us happiness, complete and unending. For those who have made the choice to seek and find God within, the search is over. God is that something else. So one of the things that can happen with the power of will is we get into this seeking thing. We're undecisive. So we're seeking, and we're seeking out there, trying to make it okay, or trying to lay it out the way we want it to be laid out. But Paramahansa says, when we seek God within, then we have already found what we were seeking. We already know the answer. And when we stop seeking out there to find out what the answer is, and we stop and take a moment and listen to ourselves, listen to that still small voice of spirit within us. So that deeper self, that truer self, when we listen to that aspect of ourselves, we know. That's that wisdom, that power of knowing. Paul Hesselbeck, who is the Dean of Education at Unity Institute for many years, he's I guess what we would call Unity's metaphysician. He taught, he was the dean of the school, but he taught metaphysics. And one of the things he says about the power of will is he says that the power of will is our director. It's like the director of the movie. So the power of will directs the movie of our life. Now, the power of will works with all the other powers. I mean, what kind of movie would you have if you only had a director and nothing to direct? You wouldn't have a movie, right? But when we have a director and we have all the actors, and the director is directing the actors, then there's a movie that's created that we want to watch over and over again. Or you can look at it as a CEO. The power of will is like the CEO of the mind. Now, a CEO can, just say, this is the way it is. But what we have found is that doesn't work very well. A good CEO talks to the other people and pulls in information and then directs and then makes those choices and directs. So the power of will is that CEO of our mind. It is the power to consciously choose, not to allow just the subconscious to choose or the unconscious to choose, but to consciously make a choice and to stand in that choice. Now, the power of will can show up he calls it underused. Reverend Paul calls it underused. I would call it underdeveloped. And that's where, you're trying to make a decision and so you're running around to everybody else and saying, what do you think? Oh, well, what do you think? What do you think? And never making a decision, you're just running around going, what do you think? What trying to get information from the outside rather than taking and listening to our own inner power, that wisdom that is within us. That wisdom that is within us will lead us, will guide us in exactly the way that is for us to go. Will lead us and guide us in exactly the way that is right for us. And it will never lead us in a way that will harm anyone else. Now, the power of will can also be overused or overdeveloped. That's when you get pushy, demanding, this is, it's kind of like I said, the CEO that goes, this is the way it is. Ta-da, just do it my way or the highway. Not open to listening to any of the other powers within us. Both underdeveloped and overdeveloped powers of will or expressions of the power of will are based in fear. Because it's when we're afraid that we can't make a decision, because we're afraid of what might happen. What might happen if I make this decision? I don't know what will happen, and so I can't make that decision. Well, what will happen if I make this decision? Oh, I don't know what will happen if I make that decision, so I can't make that decision. Or, it is out of fear when someone stands up and says, this is the way it is. This is what we're going to do. And that's the end of the story. It's based in fear. The power of will always has love as a foundation. It always has the power of love as its foundation. And the power of love is not wishy-washy, but it is also not pushy. It's not aggressive. The power of love is strong and centered. There's a famous quote attributed to Goethe. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness concerning all acts of initiative or creation. There is one elemental truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance that no man could have dreamed would have come his way. Whatever you can dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. Now, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I didn't mention the will of God. And the talk title is The Will of God. This is one of my favorite subjects. And that is, I get to say, there is no will of God. I know that's a shocking thing for me to say, right? Because we're taught from the time we're in the cradle that there is a will of God, that there is a God out there and that God has a will for your life. And you need to find out what that will is of God out there for your life. God is within us. We are expressions of God. Therefore, there cannot be a separate will that is being opposed upon us. So often the indecisiveness that the excuse that people come up with for indecisiveness is, well, I want to make sure I'm doing the will of God. I want to make sure that it's the will of God that I'm doing. It's about listening within ourselves and taking responsibility in that hearing. The will of God is the will that is arising within us, because there cannot be a separate will. Now, I'm not talking about an egocentric want. I'm talking about when that desire wells up inside of you, or you get that idea. You get that idea to do something. When we follow that, that is the will of God. Jesus said in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Thomas, Jesus has said, and if a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. So if there were a God outside of us making decisions for us and moving us like chess pieces around the cosmic chessboard, that is a house divided against itself. If I have a will that is separate from the will of God, then there's two wills. And that cannot stand, because there's only one presence and there's only one power. From this teaching comes the awareness of the difference between knowing about God and knowing God. We can spend a lot of time studying and learning about God, and that's that studying about the God out there. When really what we're called to do is we're called to know God. We're called to know God, and that God is within us. And so it's about going within, and it's tapping into that which is within us. And as we tap into that which is within us, then we know which way to go. We know what to do. And we have the power within us to make those choices. We are empowered to make those choices for our lives. And that every time that we make a choice for our life that is in alignment with the truth of who we are, we light up the world. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." Well, that's how you shine your light. You shine your light by expressing that truth within you. So I'm going to take just a moment and share a couple of practical examples of how this using the power of will can change your life. So there was a time in my life when I thought that God out there had a special plan for me. It was special. God had a special plan for me. But I didn't believe that it was possible. So, I didn't believe that I had the capabilities of doing it. And I was terrified to make a choice. But there came a point where I made a choice. And the minute I said yes, doors opened. Doors that I had no idea existed, opened up. Now, that in itself also can be a little terrifying because it's like, oh Lord, this is really going to happen. I said yes. But it creates this energy flow and doors began to open. I was supported physically, financially, emotionally, on all levels of being. I was supported to take each step. And it's about taking each step. And so the importance of this is that engaging the power of will is that power to say yes. To say yes to that which is calling to be expressed through us. And the moment we say yes, the universe says, all right, let's go. Let's do this. But you will never have to do it alone. You will always be supported. The support will come. It is already there. You cannot have the desire to do something that the support not already available to you. And the moment we say yes, then it's like our vision shifts and we can see the support. We can ask for the support that we need. And we can accept the support that comes our way. Now, another time, I was clinging. That voice inside of me was telling me to let go of something. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no, thank you. No, not, no. And I resisted for a long time. And it created a lot of pain. It created a lot of pain for me, and it created a lot of pain for those around me. But I didn't want to let go because I didn't know what would happen if I let go. I didn't know, I couldn't see beyond what I was doing at that moment. And my entire life was wrapped up in what I was doing. So it felt like I was letting go of my entire life. And what would I do if I let go of my entire life? Who would I be? I did let go. And you know what? After some healing time, doors opened. Miraculously, doors opened. I was never left alone. Even in my healing time, I was never left alone. Now, as I said, there were some other people who were hurt in this process. And so I've been doing forgiveness work, and because I was victimized. And so I have done a lot of forgiveness work and moved through a lot of that stuff. And not too long ago, I had the opportunity to see one of these people that I felt had harmed me, had hurt me. And when I saw this person, it was like my eyes did a shift. And what I saw was the love and the courage that this person had. The deep love that this person had for me that I couldn't see at the time. And so I reached out and I thanked that person for being a part of my life in that difficult time, and acknowledged what that probably meant for her, my perception of what it meant for her. And again, guess what happened? Doors open. That when we exercise the power of will, when we activate that power of will within us and we take that step, because the power of will is really about taking the step. Everything's a really good idea until we take the step. And the minute we say yes, the minute we take a step forward, doors open that we would not have foreseen before. So as Goethe says, the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance that no man could have dreamed would have come his way. Whatever you can dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to begin it now by doing a meditation. And so I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And just breathing. I invite you to follow the breath wherever it goes. It may go to the heart. It may go to the solar plexus. It may go all the way down deep into your belly. Just follow that breath, allowing it to go in and to go out. This morning, I'm going to walk us through a 12-power meditation where we acknowledge all 12 powers within us. And so we begin by bringing our attention to the very center of our brain, where the pineal gland is, and where the power of faith resides. The color of faith is dark blue. And so we just imagine a dark blue light glowing in the center of our mind. Awakening the power of faith. The power to believe in the unseen. The power to believe all things are possible. And then we turn our focus to the small of our back. To the power of strength. And the power of strength is the color of forest green. And so just imagine this forest green. This energy. Strength. The power to stand in our truth. The power to move forward. The power of confidence. We move our attention to the solar plexus. To the power of wisdom. And the color is yellow. The power of wisdom glows like a sun within us, illuminating our way. And we move upwards to the back of the heart, to the power of love. And the color is pink. And this pink love radiates through our heart and out into the world. We move up to the throat, to the power of power. And it is purple. And the power of power is the thought of the power of the spoken word. We allow this purple light to radiate, to vibrate. Empowering our voice to speak truth. And then we move up to right between the eyes and awaken the power of imagination. And the color is light blue. The power of imagination invites us to see what we have not seen before. And so we activate those inner eyes to see life, to see those around us in a new way. It is also the capacity to dream. And the invitation is to dream big. So that light blue light just illuminates that space. And we move up to the forehead, to the power of understanding. And the color is gold. The power of understanding. Our power to make sense, to know. So that gold light just shines, illuminates our mind. The power of understanding. And right next to it is the power of will. That silver light. Glowing. And we move down to the navel. to the power of order, which is light green, affirming divine order in our life. Knowing that our life is unfolding. Light green, radiating through the center of our being. And then we move to the back of the head, to the medulla. And the power is zeal. And the color is orange. Zeal and enthusiasm. That excitement. That passion. We see the color orange radiating. And then we move down to the lower spine, to the power of renunciation, the power of letting go. And the color is russet. We envision this russet light shining in this area, empowering us to let go of what we need to let go of in order to open new doors. And then we move down to the generative center, to the power of life. And the color is red. And this red light of life shines within us. We imagine this red light connecting with the russet light, connecting with the orange light, connecting with the light green light, to the silver and the gold, to the light blue, the purple, the pink, the yellow, the forest green, and all the way back up to the dark blue. Igniting and connecting all of these 12 powers within us. We give thanks. And so it is.